Today, we're helping out a family member to update their 4th generation RAV4. If you have one of these, you might feel like you're missing out on some of the latest and greatest technology, such as a larger screen, as well as Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. Sure, there are some modules that we could install that would allow us to access Apple CarPlay as well as Android Auto on the stock head unit, but then you're stuck with this small, outdated screen. There's also some RAV4 specific head units that promise to be plug and play that you can go ahead and install instead of this guy, but they end up being twice the price as well as not as good looking as the head unit we're going to be installing today. That's why, thanks to Carpuride, we're going to be installing this 9-inch floating double-din head unit. And if this guy lives up to expectations, it's a steal at only $200. Today we're going to be taking you through the installation process as well as showing you how to keep your factory features such as your steering wheel controls and your backup camera. So let's go. So to start, we have to go ahead and use these pry tools to go ahead and take off this piece right here. So we're going to do that as carefully as possible. Pretty easy to get in there. Should be pretty easy, yep, to just pop right off. So there are some clips right here to go ahead and remove this guy. So I'm going to go ahead and unclip it to allow it to be pulled out. Almost got this side out. Yep, one side out. I'm just taking the pry tool and going right underneath, right there. And once we take it out, we're just going to gently place it right up here. So right now, I just have this pry tool right behind this piece right here, and I'm just gonna leverage it. There we go. There we go. There we go. So this guy, I had to take the pry tool, kind of go down the side. There we go. And there it is. The next step is to remove these 10mm bolts. There are 4 of them. There's one here, and 2 on the bottom sides. So we're gonna go ahead and do that now. I'm known for dropping bolts. That's why I am removing it by hand here, because otherwise I'm super afraid I'm going to drop it. But there is one. Bam. Number 2. Now the third one, which is down here. Number 3 is out. Finally, number 4, which is over here in this bottom corner. And there's number 4. So I'm about to pull the stereo out, but because we're not updating everything here, including our family members' air controls right here, I do want to make sure I protect those to keep those nice and scratch-free. Once you have it all unscrewed, you just have to pull it. You do kind of have to maneuver it around a bunch of things, but there we go. The next step is going to be to unplug all of these back here. For the most part, yeah, they have little buttons that you just press to pull out right here. There's another one. Okay, we're getting somewhere. And there's just one more guy right here that we have to unclip to remove it from the vehicle. And there we go. Alrighty, so we're gonna go ahead and open up this box right here and take a look at what we're gonna be installing today. First off, I'll use this. It looks like these are some brackets. If I remember correctly, we weren't sure if we were gonna use these today. However, it is nice to have these just in case we need them. Foam. Looks actually pretty well packaged. This says car waterproof and night vision camera. So we're not going to be using the backup camera that they included because we do have a factory backup camera on the RAV4. However, that's pretty cool that they include that because, I mean, if you didn't have one or you wanted to update, here you go. So as you can see, these wires right here are all labeled. They have a white tag. The white tags are from the factory, but Devin did go ahead and open up the box and go ahead and label these guys right here. These are for the steering wheel controls and they were not labeled. So Devin wanted to make our installation process a little bit smoother. So he went through and labeled these for us. Okay, they gave us a plastic pry tool. Can never have too many of these things. Ooh. Gotta say, impressed with the packaging on this guy. And there she is. It looks so good. I'm excited to get this installed. I'm excited to see what it looks like in the vehicle. And then last but not least, they do have the manual right here. So that way it can walk you through the installation process as well as how to work the overall head unit. So we're going to show you all the pieces that we're going to use to go ahead and help our installation process. Anytime you are installing a aftermarket head unit, the head unit itself doesn't know what vehicle you have, so you have to get the vehicle precise harness. So this is a harness for the Toyota RAV4 that we're using today. We're also going to be using this so we can go ahead and retain the factory backup camera because we don't want to install a new backup camera. We also want to tap into some wires, so we're going to be using these wire splice connectors. And today we're actually going to be soldering, but if you're uncomfortable with soldering or if you don't know how to solder, you can also use these heat shrink wire butt connectors, whatever you feel the most comfortable with. And finally, we have a trim piece right here that's going to cover all the extra space because the two stereo units, they both have different sizes. So this is going to cover everything that we need to be covered. All of these items you can find in the links down below. So what we're working on here is we're working on connecting wires from what's going to be plugged into the car versus what's going to be plugged into the actual head unit. So it's nice because they have these all labeled where it says like front left speaker negative, and on these pieces, it's on here really, really tiny. It says left front negative, but you can also go color to color, or they do have the wire colors and what they mean in the manual as well as on the bag that the wires came from. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start soldering. So to start soldering, I'm going to go ahead and twist these. Just a note, I did have to strip the wire a little bit more than how it was before. I also put a heat shrink tube already on the wire ready to go, so once this is all soldered, we'll be good to go. So you take the soldering iron and you put it underneath the wires to heat up the wires. This is very hot, so be careful. Put the solder on top of the wire. Try to get it to fall through the cracks of the wire. Okay, that's good. So then I'm going to go ahead and slide the heat shrink tube right over. So I'm going to go ahead and use a lighter here to apply heat to this tube so it'll shrink and stay tight on the wire itself. That's done. Right there. And now we do the other ones. So that kit that we showed you guys earlier that is going to allow us to retain the factory backup camera, it has a step down as well as the primary harness, both of which have grounds. So I could ground these inside the vehicle, but I was already working on soldering some of the wires together, so I figured it'd be better to splice these together. So now what we're gonna do is this gray wire is actually still from that 6-volt step down, and we're gonna attach it to the supply 6-volt right here in order to be able to give it power. Alrighty, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this white wire from the 6-volt step down converter, and we're gonna splice it into our accessory power because it does need 12 volts of power to be able to convert to 6 volts. So we're gonna go ahead and splice it onto here, and then we'll be able to solder these together, and it should give the converter the power that it needs to convert for the backup camera. Okay, so what I'm gonna do right now is, as you can see, everything's connected, but it looks like one big jumbled mess. So I'm actually gonna use this harness tape right here to try to create some cable management so that way it doesn't look so messy. So we went ahead and referenced online a 28-pin diagram that showed us which of these wires we're going to have to tap into. So there's 4 different wires we're going to have to tap into to be able to access the factory steering wheel controls and the backup camera. We're going to be tapping into this green wire right here and putting in this reverse wire from the stereo, tapping into it right here so the stereo gets the signal when the car's in reverse. That is pin number 2. And then we're going to be tapping on the back side here. These 3 wires right here, the white, the red, and the white and black. Now this is going to be SW1, the red is SW2, and the white and black is SWG, or our ground wire. So we're gonna go ahead and take this T-tap that we have right here, and we're gonna use this to tap into the wire that is in pin number 2, which is a green wire. And we're tapping into this to go ahead and tap the reverse wire from the head unit into this piece right here. So I'm gonna make sure I have it separated. There we go, right there. Okay, so once I get the wire in the right placement, I'm gonna take these pliers to use to close it all the way. And actually, there we go. That one was easy. So I'm going to take the next T-tap, but I'm going to tap into SW1, which is the white wire right here, doing the same procedure I did on the other side. Just takes a little finagling to get where I want it to be. Then I'm going to close it. I'm going to try to close it with just my fingers this time. No, I'm going to use the pliers. Okay, I think that's good right there. Okay, there we go. Have the red wire. So this is SW2. I'm going to go ahead and do next. I'm trying to offset these T-taps. That way I will be able to access the cords as needed. This is pin number 22, okay? And this is the last one, which is going to be pin number 23, which is SWG, or the ground. This color pin is white and black, which is actually kind of helpful because most of the time your ground wire will be black. Ooh. There we go. Everything should be T-tapped, ready to go. The next step was we're actually going to take all these wires back over to the table, and we're going to install these male spade connectors by crimping it onto the wire and that way we're able to actually take these and plug it directly into the pieces we've already installed. And we're going to be connecting the reverse wire here, as well as SW1, SW2, and SWG, and that's going to give us steering wheel controls as well as allow us to tap into the factory backup camera. I think I got it. So we went ahead and we installed or pushed in all of the different plug pieces. These were the two black ones that we were working with. These ones will go into the car once we get there. We have all of the spades ready to go, including the one for the reverse. So we have a blue wire that was in the harness right here, the blue wire coming from the stereo, so that's 2 blue wires, and then we had a third blue wire coming from the antenna adapter, which would allow us to get FM radio in the vehicle. So we did solder these 2 blue wires together, and then realizing later we had to get this third blue wire in there. We don't want to undo everything, so we use this T-tap tool and this spade to connect this blue wire to this one. This can be used for a single DIN or a double DIN head unit, and it gives you this piece if you are using a single DIN head unit. However, we're not doing a single DIN head unit, we're doing a double DIN, so we're gonna go ahead and set this aside because we don't need it. So this right here is the fascia. So the first step I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to screw in these pieces right here, which are clips to clip the fascia into the RAV4. So the nice thing about these is it does have little holes where little pegs kind of line you up perfectly, so you don't have to stress out about holding it or anything. Once you have the holes lined up, they're kind of there and you're ready to start screwing. So these screws right here did come with the trim assembly kit, so we're going to be using these for here. We are using a Phillips head screwdriver to go ahead and attach these screws. Now our fascia is ready. Alrighty, before we go ahead and install the brackets, there was a few things we did want to talk about with this stereo. Really quickly, this USB port right here is great. However, it would have been nice if they put a USB port on the back side, because we're actually going to lose function of the factory USB port that is in our current the current vehicle. So right here you would be able to see that if we did indeed have a USB port on the back, we'd be able to plug it in using this side, plug in the factory USB right here and still have access to that factory USB, but unfortunately we don't. We would actually have to plug it into the front and wire it through the back, which would not allow us to hide this cord, so it's just going to look like kind of messy. They do give you an option for an external mic, and that right there is the port that you'd plug it into. However, the same thing would happen. You would have to plug it in here and there'd be no way to hide that cord. So it'd just be nice if they included these ports maybe on the back side too, so that way if people did want to hide the cord, they could pretty easily. The one thing that is nice is on the screen itself, we did notice that it has a little hole right here, which we are sure is for a microphone. So with that being said, we don't need the external mic, which is great, but it would have been nice for people that maybe want the option of the external mic to have that port on the back. The brackets themselves are stamped left and right, and these are your left and right because the stamping on the side of the actual head unit is wrong. I don't know if that was just on the one we received or if that is a production error. However, just to make sure, the one that says right does go on the right, the one that goes on the left does go on the left. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn this guy right here. The nice thing I wanted to point out, this, since we have it, you can see that the screen is not here. There's a trigger right here that allows us to pull the screen off, which makes it easier for us to actually install it into the vehicle. Alrighty, so I'm gonna go ahead and start with the left bracket. Looking at the screws that they gave us with the head unit, there are 4 screws here. So I'm actually gonna go ahead and do 2 screws per side. So this is my left side bracket, so I'm gonna go ahead and line that up. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make sure that I don't tighten the screws all the way. That way, if I need to adjust it once we get into the vehicle, we can. I'm gonna start with this top one here. Alrighty, so before I can really mount this into this hole that's right here, I do have to obviously plug everything in. So I'm gonna look inside the connectors and connect them to the pieces that have the same amount of pins. So this one's gonna go right here, okay? And then this guy is gonna go right here, and I line everything up. It has a nice little click. That's how you know it's all in. So that's 2 clicked in. Okay, I want to save the spades for last because I don't have as much play with the actual wires. So I'll have to be able to hold that up. This is the antenna right here, which connects to this piece right here. Click means it went in. Then we have this piece right here, which is actually, I don't want to use the one that has the pins right here. I want to use the one that connects to a pin, and it connects to this guy. Nope, not that guy. That's my 28 pin. Ah, here it is. I want to connect it to this guy right here. Just like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift this up a little bit higher because now it's time to go ahead and connect the spade male connectors to the T-tap pieces. So this is the reverse cord. It's the pink one that we tapped into earlier. And the way that it's going to go is it is going to click right into here, which is going to give us our backup camera. So these don't really give you a click. However, I just want to make sure that it goes all the way up because that'll tell me everything's plugged in. The next ones that I have are for SW1, SW2, and the ground, which is right here. So if I flip over this cord right here, the SW1 is the white cord. So I'm going to go ahead and find SW1 that is labeled right here, and I'm going to go ahead and click that in. So actually, really quick, some of these guys moved on us a little bit earlier. So I needed to adjust it, put it back in the middle. And again, SW1, yep, there we go. And that's pushed all the way in. The next one is SW2, which is the red wire we tapped into earlier. Once again, finding the SW2, which is labeled. Gonna go right here. And again, because it didn't go on instantly, I have to adjust the port that's on the inside to make sure it fits because I don't want to force anything. Yeah, see, already a much better fit. Okay. And lastly, we had to go ahead and do the SWG, which is the grounding port, again, right here. And that one goes on perfectly. So I'm just going to make sure it's all the way on. Okay, this port right here is for the reverse camera. So I'm going to go ahead and take this port right here, plug it right in. So that should be everything. Everything's plugged in. I'm just double checking all the wires, making sure everything's plugged in correctly. And it looks like it. So now what I get to do is I get to feed these wires back into here. So that way they're not poking out, they're not stuck on anything, and we can actually start mounting. So I'm just gonna slowly feed everything back in. So when we went to go put on the mounting brackets onto the actual double-din stereo, we were having the issue of the bottom piece right here was too long and it was hitting this peg. Either one side would fit or they wouldn't fit. So what we actually ended up having to do is we took a Dremel and we ended up just grinding down the sides of the brackets just to make them fit. They're pretty snug in there, but they do look like they're going to fit and work. So from here, we're going to go ahead and continue the installation process, and we will go ahead and install those 10mm bolts that we took out at the very beginning. Alrighty, so what we're gonna do here is we actually went ahead and connected an iPhone so we can see Apple CarPlay, and that's what you see on the screen right here. So we can actually go through. I'm gonna click Pandora. I'm gonna click just a random station, and it'll start playing on Pandora right here. Can do both Android Auto as well as Apple CarPlay. Alrighty guys, everything is fully installed, and after going through it, we do have a few things that we weren't too happy with. One of those being we did wire the backup camera to always be on as long as the car is on. However, we can't see that without putting the car into reverse. However, they do have an ability to see the front camera if we had one. I just wish that they had a rear view camera here so I could always click it, take a look, make it easy, but they don't. The other thing is this voice assistant button is not functioning properly, and we don't understand why. Maybe that was the function isn't working with this specific head unit. Overall, we are really happy with this head unit. We think it definitely brings this vehicle into modern times, makes it feel like a brand new RAV4, and overall, it's a really great head unit, looks great, and it's something that we're really happy with. So if this is something that you want to add to your vehicle, you can go ahead and click the link down in the description, and you can use code AUTOJOURNEY at checkout to get $50 off, which will make the head unit at about $200. If you guys want to see more modifications that we do to other cars, please go ahead and subscribe to our channel, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye guys.